We're talking life, money, and confident finance with Amanda Redman of Amanda Redman Financial Planning. And Amanda, now we're coming on to a topic that I know you feel very passionate about, which is women and their finance. Ladies, step forward, it says on my piece of paper here, because we're talking about who controls the finances in households and the fact that there are some really quite shocking differences in the amount of money that women end up with in their pension pot in comparison to men.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's obviously a very broad topic, and at the end of the day, I want to inspire women to get more involved in their finances and their financial decision making, because it has such big implications for them and their families.
Because according to the Chartered Insurance Institute, by the time a woman is in her mid to late 60s, her average pension wealth is just 1/5 of a man's, which is extraordinary.
Yes, yeah, and there are lots of reasons behind that, which I think we'll probably go on to talk about. But there are potentially such stark differences that it really is something that women need to be aware of. And unfortunately, sometimes they're not fully aware of some of those realities until they face a relationship breakdown or a divorce. And obviously, it's better to try and be a little bit more understanding or aware or self-sufficient, if possible, ahead of anything like that happening.
Okay, and in general terms then, why do you think that there is such a big difference? Why are women less likely to be in control of the finances than the men?
Well, there are obviously lots of reasons behind that. Some of it, I think, is still gender stereotypes. I do normally say to my couples, as long as one of you is making the key decisions, then that's great, as opposed to neither of you doing it. But it can obviously be driven by factors such as time and availability. Often if the man is the main breadwinner, then there's perhaps an assumption that he understands more about pensions, which isn't necessarily the case, but could be. And for working mums, they have less time because they have other priorities, so they may not be getting as involved. But generally, I find, a lot of couples will talk freely and make decisions themselves, and we know that women are key influencers of what money is spent on, but that tends to be the much more immediate purchases. So things to buy for the home, what car, what holiday to have. Women are very much involved in those decisions, but it's the longer term financial planning decisions that they are less likely to get involved with.
And we started off talking about pension pots because, the gender pay gap is obviously something that's very widely talked about, but the pension pay gap is probably less talked about. And it's something like more than a million women don't have a private pension at all in the UK. They just don't have any pension planning.
Yes, yeah, it's quite a shocking statistic. I think some people don't appreciate that you can have a personal pension even if you're not working. There's an amount of money that you are able to contribute into a pension even if you're not earning. But often people only first come across pensions when they are working. So if a woman hasn't worked very much during her life or not through an employer that has provided a pension, then often they end up in their 40s or 50s without having their own pension provision.
So what are some of the key reasons that have led to this kind of inequality situation?
Well, when it comes to the differences in pensions, it often starts at an early stage. So let's say you mentioned the gender pay gap, which in some circumstances is still evident. And as pension contributions tend to be a percentage of our earnings, so if a woman is earning less to start with, then the amount being put into her pension is being reduced, or is less, sorry. Equally, women are often more likely to be the ones that work part-time, again, particularly when children have come along, and during that period of maternity leave, there may be some months in which no pension contributions are being made. And the difficulty is that when you extrapolate that out over 20, 30, 40 years towards your retirement, those differences diverge, and because women are putting less into their pensions less frequently and for less time than the men, then you end up with a very big difference by the time that you reach your 60s.
And that can have a profound impact on a woman once she is retirement age, we're talking tens of thousands of pounds a year.
Oh, definitely. It can really affect the income that the pension will then give. And as I mentioned, that unfortunately can sometimes only come to light when there's a relationship breakdown or there's a divorce, and there has to be a discussion about splitting assets and agreeing a financial settlement. It's at that point that this inequality between pensions often comes to light.
So, what do we do about it? It's a big question.
Yes, yeah. Well, as with most things, the first step is to be talking about it and to be aware of it, and for women to really understand that it's important that they are making good decisions about their personal finances now, because if they can make good decisions and be contributing to a pension, making sure that they feel they are paid fairly, etc., then that will have massive benefits further down the track.
And that's something that you do as a financial planner. You actually sit down with people and talk through what their options are.
Yes, definitely. We look at somebody's current personal and financial situation, and then we talk about what's important to them over the medium to long term, so that we can ensure that the financial resources they are accumulating over the coming years will give them what they want when they are in later life.
And it's a very collaborative process, isn't it?
It is. At the end of the day, money is a means to an end, and the money is there to support people in their lives and the decisions and the goals that they have. So we have to talk about it together. I can bring the technical expertise, but at the end of the day, the financial plan needs to enable somebody to live the best life that they can.
And for you, as a financial planner and as a woman, I mean, this is something that really matters to you.
It does. I really feel it's so important for women to step forward and become involved in their personal finances, whether that's within their family or whether that's to be self-sufficient themselves. It's not something that should be left to chance, and it shouldn't be left to anybody else other than you, in my view.
Absolutely. Amanda, thank you very much. That's Amanda Redman of Amanda Redman Financial Planning. And if you'd like to be more confident with your finances, then you can always have a confidential, no obligation chat with Amanda, or of course take a look on the website.